can stand alone. So it's not a one size fits all thing. Okay. Now, what is our framework? Okay, resilience. Okay, the belief that if people use effective coping mechanisms and if positive self-concept is already in place together with social support, one can be resilient. Okay? But not sacrificing the fact that resilience must be nurtured in individuals. And so the following factors were considered in the process of creating the modules. When we created the modules, we pulled in different practitioners. We had social workers in the group, psychologists, people have been doing the RRM interventions. It was not just a pool of psychologists, so that we can actually see the needs of our survivors. So this is now the program goals of the Katatagan. Okay, this was designed actually to help survivors hone their resilience by looking into their strengths and developing some more skills to help in their recovery. So there were 6 modules, and for each module, there's a particular target goal. Okay, the first module is right away looking into their strengths. When they come to the sessions, right away we tell them, andito kayo, you survived. Okay? So, what do you think were the strengths that you had? What helped? What helped in the process? So they go into checking on their strengths. Okay, and then putting in some more. Okay, sharing with them what else might be done. Surprisingly, when we collect their strengths, okay, it will not be about them. It will not really be on a personal level. It would point to their families. Okay, my strength is my family. My strength is my children. Because when I thought of my children, I told myself I have to live. Okay? And then, because we make them understand that the experience of trauma cannot be taken out all at once. We also tell them that from time to time we would still experience stress reactions. So part of the program is to teach them how to manage this physical reaction. So mindfulness training is again introduced. Okay, and other helpful exercises. And they're allowed to let out, surface unhelpful thoughts. Okay, and we also teach them, equip them with skills on how to reframe, and then substitute their thoughts with those which are more helpful. Okay? And we have to reconnect them to their previous activities, so we ask them what else it is that you can do. Okay, now that you're being able to manage yourself, what do you do now? Okay, can you now go back to your work, etc. And then if there are still certain concerns that it's difficult for them to address, and if concerns surface beyond disaster, we also allow them to share them and then teach them some more skills. And the end is to have an action plan. Okay, after this experience, what now? Okay. So this is the entire framework. These are the titles of the modules, okay, that we have designed. So this was pilot tested from between April to June in Tacloban, in Samar, and in Zamboanga for some IDPs there. And after that, after the pilot testing, we were already compelled to come up with a manual because we had to begin with the training since the results were really very encouraging for us. Okay, this was one of the studies conducted using the modules. This is just a bit of the results. So there was decrease in post-traumatic stress symptoms, anxiety symptoms, depressive symptoms, and coping skills. Okay, and the highest score for the different coping skills, the highest is on humor. That's that has been mentioned in the previous. Now, we emphasize on caring for our carers. Okay, we do not just train people. We also make sure that when we train them and ask them to help us out in this thing that we do, it's a must for us to also check on them, to teach them skills on how to take care of themselves. Because at the end of the day, this can be very distressing also for PFA providers. That's why when there were arrangements being made for Itogon, the coordinator there, Father Costa, said, reserve volunteers who will do PFA for the PFA providers. So that was, according to him, I need more PFA providers for the PFA providers. Okay, so there. This is a very important step, and this is the one thing that we realized when we were harmonizing the manuals, that the training on self-care, I don't know, I'm not really sure if it's really absent before. There was really no focus on this, but now this is one step, one procedure that have been recognized in the gathering of the RRN workers. Because we know that in the process, it's difficult and it's really a mission to transform victims into survivors. Thank you very much.
Okay, before we have the question and answer, don't go yet, after the question and answer, because the PDRF representative will give us instructions for tomorrow's activity. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Gomez. The floor is now open for any inquiries from the body.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Thank you for that presentation. My name is Errol. I would like to share two points for discussions also. And during a large-scale calamity, when we talk PFA and PSS, we always targeted the women and children. It's always the first, but we found out also that most of the quote-unquote aggressors during a protection issue is from the male population, but we found out also because they are suffering from mental health issues. My question is, do we have specific program for the male survivors also addressing their mental health issues, specifically addressing their culture of men and those things? That's my first question. My second question also is, I have experience about handling PFA and PSS coming from the armed groups, like military and the other doing PSS for children and women. My question is, do we have a national guideline for PFA and PSS handlers, especially coming from the armed groups, partisans, and religious groups? Because that's the only available, but it's very uncomfortable for us groups, knowing that these groups are handling those PFA and PSA. That's all.
On the first question, unfortunately, we don't have a special design for our male survivors. But the concerns would surface during the needs assessment. So even as we put them in groups or we deal with them individually, we bear in mind, as well, the needs that this person has. We would usually coordinate with a community leader, and we would ask them, are there people here who would need specialized intervention? So those people who are already who've been experiencing distress even before the disaster are actually handled by professional psychologists. So there's a different approach, but in terms of a program, we do not have yet. On the second question, we promote the PFA. We promote the PFA. The PFA comes with guidelines. So if we provide the training, we also include all the guidelines that people have to remember in going to the ground and in providing a PFA. But I don't think that's national mandate that we use PFA, because until this time, we know that there are still groups providing CISD. But we would recommend giving stress debriefing for military, or people in the army have been exposed to more to severe situations. Like next week, we'll be, instead of giving PFA, we will be providing stress debriefing for the PNP officers were ambushed, the survivors in the ambush in Camarines. So we decided to give stress debriefing rather than PFA because of the nature of that event.
Another question, ma'am?
Good afternoon. I'm Chris from Cebu.
Good afternoon.
We have a group called Wellbeing Cluster, and we're working with Dr. Glenn,
Yes. Apo.
your colleague po.
Opo.
And the group aims to provide PSS or any mental health intervention, but not for the directed or affected population or disaster affected population, but rather the humanitarian aid workers, the responders, and showing your, seeing your module before, would that be elaborated to that sector? There's a global study that published by The Guardian that 98 or 79% of humanitarian aid workers exposed to this kind of scenario, then going back after deployment, encountered some mental health issues, and will also replicating the same survey, localizing the same survey. So personally, it is something, my personal advocacy, because when I was deployed in Marawi, then going back to the office, so I encountered the same situation.
Yes, sir. There are groups now reporting to us that they tweak the modules to fit the context of the participants. So we can actually also use this for humanitarian workers, for those providing psychosocial interventions.
We have another question.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, thank you for your insightful presentation. I am April. I am an occupational therapist. I understand that we share a lot of practices as well as, I think, challenges, especially with the number of healthcare professionals that we have. Ma'am, I'd like to know from your experience, although I understand that this is psychosocial first aid, but I also understand, coming in from personal experiences and experiences in the field, that grief and bereavement, stress, be it stress-related or from disasters, they all come in waves, and they don't have an announcement when they come, and they also go. So, in your experience po, do you do follow-ups on the people that you provide psychosocial first aid? Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Those people needing follow-ups are referred or reported to the group in charge of a certain community or area. And then we would usually link them, we would ask around in the community, are there psychologists here? And sadly, that's when we realized the dearth of psychologists. In summer, there's no one psychologist, not all, but there are guidance counselors. And so that is what we feel hopeful about that if there are counselors in schools. And so we ask LGUs and the municipalities to link with these professionals who can provide further interventions, because we know that we cannot always be there in the area. And in terms of grief and bereavement, we also saw that that a special attention must be given there, because when everyone else have coped, okay, they have been equipped with the skills, but it's a different thing when one is grieving. And so there's a move to also design programs or modules for specifically in handling grief and bereavement. So that's one of our future plans in the PAP.
Okay, we have another question from this end.
Hi ma'am, I'm Roxanne. I'm just interested to know if have you experienced coming from the community that there was some hesitation that for seeking PFA, and how do you encourage more the people to seek for PFA? Because I don't want to think there is still stigma, but probably because perhaps they're not really that knowable about that they can ask for assistance. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, based on our experiences, it's either people avoid you or they flood you. Okay, they avoid you, they don't talk at all, or they flood you with their stories. When people are not ready, it's okay. Just let them be. But we always leave them with a note that in case you need something, this is the person that you can go to, and this person will try to reach us again. So it's respecting their need at the moment, just to be silent. So there are different ways of processing, okay, their stress reactions in people.
Okay, another question on this end.
Okay, good afternoon. So I'm Thai from Vietnam. So it's really interesting to see that you point out some of the psychosocial factors at the first line. But I'm just wondering what is the main factors that influencing the to the Philippines, to the Filipinos related, and the things related to social, psychosocial problems. Yeah.
Is that pertaining to
And,
disasters?
yeah, and how to measure it? Yeah, and how do you measure that factors? Because the most important factor that affect the Filipino.
Okay. If you have seen the slide on the different factors influencing stress reactions, okay, we consider those.
Yeah.
Okay. So these are the factors that we consider, but we are not the ones directly doing the assessment. There are actually groups in the community assigned to do this, the frontliners. And then we get documents from them, or we get referrals from them. And that's when we begin the interventions. So we cannot go and do everything by ourselves, because our capacity is limited only in providing psychosocial interventions. There are other sectors assigned with food, health, etc., who are doing their own assessments. And usually these factors would surface in the assessments.
Just waiting for the documents. Right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have another question from this end.
Thank you very much for the presentation. You showed the slide earlier with the control group. I was just interested in knowing the ethical considerations for presenting case studies or lessons learned or whatever documentations you have regarding those survivors that try to get assistance or receive PFA. So what are the ethical guidelines that have been followed including them in the study?
Okay, the approach now of the PAP is to come up with evidence-based intervention. So there's really a need for us to do research, and we follow strictly the ethics of research. So first and foremost, there must be informed consent. So people must know that the data, the information that they are going to share will be treated with utmost confidentiality, but we do give a pre-test and a post-test. So only the results of the pre-test and the post-test are taken in for research. Not unless there's deeper need for us to do qualitative research on these people. But they are told that the responses that you give us in the pre-test and post-test would be used for research purposes. And then we would give information to the community leaders, to the LGU or municipality regarding the results of the research.
There's no need for an ethical review board or something?
I'm not sure if this will be covered. When you're in an academic institution, I know that is a requirement now. So if the organization doing the research is under an academic institution, there's a need for you to go through the ethics board.
And for the last question,
Hello, ma'am. I'm sure I'm from Nepal. Since I'm the last one, I would like to ask two questions. Referring to an example from Nepal, recently when this earthquake happened in 2015, so I was there physically. My family was also the victim of the earthquake, so I had to tend to the family. At the same time, I was called by the office to go and respond immediately to all these office needs. So I was a little bit, in a dilemma. What is the right step? I have my family, which is also a victim, and I have to have my responsibility. I'm the team leader for emergency. What is the right process and what is the right decision? One. The second, whenever a disaster happens, I've seen people or in my team going to respond immediately. I've seen people who are dead bodies, dismembered bodies, blood here and limbs here and there. Some of my colleagues are psychologically disturbed and they faint also. So do you think that the emergency responders should be trained mentally, socially to be prepared to see all these kind of figures and all this kind of dead bodies?
Okay, let me reply to the second question first. Yes. So there's a need for them to be trained so that exposure will not bring tremendous negative effects on them, because it's been part of their training. On the first question, I wonder what you did.
I want to respond and I'll tell you.
Okay, we would. I'm not sure. It depends on the employer or your organization. But here in the Philippines, the practice is we understand the circumstances of employees. And so if employees choose their family first, employers would normally understand. And it's family first here in the Philippines. I don't know. What did you do?
I live my family and take care of them, and after they were fine, then I went to office.
Yeah. Thank you.
okay, thank you, Dr. Gomez. Could we give Dr. Gomez another round of applause? So at this point in time, I'd like to turn over the microphone to the representative of PDRF, Tony, for our schedule tomorrow.
Okay guys, just before you break out for in your respective work groups, just a few reminders. For one, for those who would still want to join us for dinner, it will be in a different place. It's called Toll House, which is pretty much just beside the university campus in Santa Rosario Street. There are sign-up sheets on both doors of the room, so if you would like to join us for dinner, please do sign up your names. Also, snacks are set up in Casa Nena. So I've noticed that nobody went there for snacks, so please feel free to go there. Also, for tomorrow and on Saturday, the venue of our training will be in the PDRF Operations Center. So if you're gonna go there via your vehicle, you can consult Waze. You can just type there PDRF Emergency Operations Center. So that will lead you to the venue for tomorrow and on Saturday. But for those who would want to join us for the free shuttle service, there are also sign-up sheets on both doors of the room. So please just write your name so we'll know who would want to be part of that shuttle service. Also a reminder, tomorrow will be the start of the festival here in Angeles, so expect heavy traffic and some of the roads to be closed. So make sure that you leave your respective hotels early so that you can arrive in the venue before 9 a.m. I would also recommend that you bring a change of clothes because we're gonna have a send-off dinner tomorrow at the PDRF Clark Operations Center as well.
May shuttle service from here.
The shuttle services will be in Imarex and in Red Planet and Robinson's Balibago. So the venues where the shuttle service will be at is on the doors, on the sign-up sheets. Yes. No. There is parking space there. Yeah. So it's inside the Clark Polytechnic College. There are parking spaces right outside the Operation Center, and even along the area, around the area, I mean. Yeah. So again, before going out to your breakout groups, some of you may want to have some snacks. So the snacks are set up already in Casa Nena. And then let me know who will be joining us for dinner later so we can just prepare the appropriate food quantity. If you have other questions, the secretary is on this side of the table. And we'll see you tomorrow and on Saturday at PDRF. Thank you guys.
Okay, before we adjourn, we'd like to ask where would be our room assignments for the small groups. Do we go up to back to the 8th floor?
I believe they're in the same place, right? On the 8th floor?
Sir, can we have photo of all the
Those?
all the
Oh, you want to get a picture?
yeah.
Okay, guys, our venue for the small groups will be at the same venue at the 8th floor. So after your snacks, you will have to go up 8th floor. Same rooms. Thank you. See you tomorrow.
Hi, quick question. Yeah. With regard to the sustainability part of the page,
Maglilipat na tayo ng gusto niya.
the
Tapos picture
sustainability
lang
of
kami
the project,
ng bayron na naman.
what do you mean by sustainability? Should it earn or it means that when we go out of the area, the project
Kasi ngayon naman.
If you're doing a venture for children, then it's
Breakout tapos from round room lang ulit tapos transfer na. Yung same campus.
it doesn't have to be a for-profit,
At tanong kasi ako for the dinner kahit dinner doon.
but it has to sustain itself as an agency.
Nakapag-transfer. Tapos
Can we
hindi
use
magsa-transfer. Tapos mag-request lang ako for the host for today. Photo off tayo together.
I mean, you can use whatever resource.
Hindi pa. Hindi pa.
Thank you for that.
I think they want a picture with everybody.
Joke lang yun. Ay, hindi. Kaya yun. Joke lang yun, joke lang.
That'll see you back in Providence.
Oh. Joke ba?
Relates to my body.
Yeah, for the time.